So, good thing about the camera app, not camera app, screen recorder on my phone is that I can circle stuff. Like, anyway, can see that Paul McCartney's face is obviously different. You can see that here is a man with his open palm. Now, this isn't like some Indian tradition. This is, sorry that the camera's so close. This is actually a funeral, which George Harrison said in George Harrison, Paul is really dead, George Harrison's last testament. And yes, it's real. If you deny it, then you're an idiot. Anyway, speak of George Harrison. Then there are the four main Beatles. There are the four Beatles. There's Paul putting his hand on George Harrison's shoulder, where you can also see that Paul McCartney is very different than what this Paul McCartney looks like. So then there's the other Beatles looking. He's looking right there. And there's a left-handed guitar player. We're gonna have to go over here. It says Bill something on this. Pretty good-looking lady. It's not part of the conspiracy theory, but I'd like to include it. There's a bunch of people, and somewhere between there, I believe it's this guy, but I could be wrong, that this guy is Stephen Crane. He wrote a book where there were four men in the water, and basically four of them went out to sea, and so hold on. So only three of them made it back alive. So they wrote notes and they wrote clues in the letter. There's also Karl Marx right there. It's wild. So if you flip this upside down, it reveals a phone number to a funeral service. And in the song Glass Onion, John Lennon calls Paul McCartney, I don't know where he is, the walrus. The walrus was Paul! So, he said that because he felt guilty about wait, no. Oh, God. He said that because Paul looked like a walrus when they saw him dead for the first time. Oh, Now, once again, a hand over his head signifies a priest or pastor lowering someone into their grave. But also, you got four band members, an old band. These are supposed to be the Beatles, but they look different because Paul looks different. In the land where I was born, lived a man who sailed the sea. So you can clearly see that Paul McCartney is barefoot. And you can clearly see why most people who are feet lovers join the conspiracy theory just because they like seeing Paul McCartney's feet and like hearing people talk about Paul McCartney's feet. Nah, I'm just kidding. But we do need to point out his feet because he's barefoot and none of the other members are barefoot. And you could say, oh, well, he did have shoes on, but he had sandals. But why would he have sandals if John, Ringo, and George had shoes on? John and George had white shoes on while Ringo had black shoes on. And then there's Paul with no shoes on. And if he had shoes on, it would be sandals. They're not dress shoes. He purposely took them off, and they purposely shot this because he knew that he would want to kick them off because of the heat. And he also wanted to walk across the street with his bare feet. Now, who really wants to do that? You can clearly see it says 27. No, I'm just kidding. It says 28 if. 28 if. They purposely placed this because, well, 28 years of Paul McCartney's life. And many conspiracy theories talk about how the cigarette in his hand is purposely there. But it's him. It's just he's right-handed. And then look, there's a guy. In the Let It Be album, Paul McCartney has a red background facing the camera, while John, Ringo, and George aren't facing the camera and have white backgrounds. It's as clear as day. I think that's all for today. That's all she wrote on this one. Alrighty, I want to thank everyone for watching this video, and if you haven't already liked and subscribed, please do so. And remember, Paul is dead. Paul is dead, man. Miss him, miss him, miss him.